Welcome back to the Garden Dojo. If you remember last time I said I was going to work on Empis, elbow strikes, and chops, or Chutos, okay? I have Bob here who's going to assist me today because these techniques are not to be used against another individual. We don't want to hurt anyone. But we do want to be able to practice our techniques without having to use another person. So Bob is going to be my subject. Now, if we look at the katas, we have elbow strikes and chutos. But we look at them and just perform them just to get them out of the way in performing the katas. Here in Kaizen Kan Go-Juru, we utilize every technique of our katas. So the first one we're going to go with is the strike to the head, okay? Many times we see people bringing the hand to the elbow when we should be bringing the elbow to the hand. Bringing the elbow to the hand. Utilizing the hip rotation, pushing off the floor to get that hip rotation. We want body harmony. If I'm going to thrust my hip, I want my shoulder to go with that. At the same time, I'm going to utilize that force, that kinetic energy, right? Newton's law, force or effective force equals mass times acceleration. We want to utilize that acceleration behind that. Now keep the lats closed, okay? We don't want the elbow to come out here. We want it closed until we unleash it. We want to be able to thrust the whole body behind that. So while I'm using Bob, and in the katas we have the hand, okay? So think of it, the hand, if you know where your hand is, you know where you're going to place your elbow. You're going to place your elbow in your hand. You don't have to look at your hand. That's necessary in case you have to grab a person, which is what this is for. Grab the person, thrust. I know where my hand is. My hand's going to be in the back of his head, right by the neck of the neck. And I'm going to thrust my elbow in. I don't even have to look. I know that my elbow is going to go there because I'm going to smack my hand. I'm going to bring the elbow to the hand. Grab the neck, come across. I don't have to look. I don't have to look. I know where my hand is. So as long as I practice striking my hand, I'll always find my target. Even if I grab the body and strike, I am going to strike my hand, whether my hand is at the back of his head, the side of his neck, by his shoulders, or behind him. I'm always going to strike my hand. That's the first elbow strike. Then we have in kata sincero and a couple of other katas, we have that forward elbow, okay? I like using alternative with that elbow as well. Some schools will say that strike is right up the chin. Well, if the person happens to be taller than you, like the other Bob I have over there, no way I'm going to strike his chin. It's too high. So I'll use it for the solar plex. There's always alternative use to your techniques. Learn to utilize alternative ideas. Think outside of your box when you're doing your katas. Don't just stick with one way, okay? So, yes, if I'm able to get into that chin, that's okay, but keep this in mind. Your hand has to be vertical. Has to be vertical. Because if I turn my hand this way, I open the radial and ulnar bones. Therefore, it's going to hurt. But if I turn vertical, now I stack the ulnar and radial bones, therefore making that stronger. And I want to strike with this area here, not necessarily with just the point of elbow. Although we do have strikes with point of elbow, but in this case, it's this part right here. Place your hand on that, right? If I can find my hand, I can find my target. I like using that right for the sternum or just below the sternum, right in the solar plex. And I like to thrust again. Mass times acceleration equals force. So I want to drive my whole body into that. So I'm going to use my stance and I'm going to push off the ground and I'm going to strike up against him, even if it's the ribs, underneath the pericardium, which is underneath the armpit for those who don't know anatomy. I want to strike even in the ribs, okay? But I want to use the whole forearm, and then right from that forearm, I'm going to come up with an uppercut. Forearm, uppercut. Forearm, uppercut. Some schools have another elbow strike, which is a driving force. Driving force, okay? That's good if you have them bent over and you're going to strike them in the back where the nape of the neck is, or between the shoulder blades, or even the collarbone, okay? I like using that as short, if I have my guards up, coming in short and coming again to the sternum, down, or to the, just below the collarbone or on the collarbone, okay? You break that collarbone, that person's not going to be able to use that arm, okay? So we have that 1, we have that 2, we have that 3. Then we have the 4th one, which is the side, okay? Side. There you want to use, again, not just the point of elbow, but this portion there. And you want to keep your hand in this position, horizontal. You want to drive through with your hips. Drive through, okay? You can also drive across the face. Make sure that you don't hit yourself up in the tricep tendon, because then, especially if you're hitting the chin, okay, you want to hit just below, just above the elbow, but below the tricep tendon, and that nice firm area there. We'll come in, drive, okay, drive, drive. Then we have the back elbow, backwards. Again, the fist is vertical, all right? Utilize your hips. Thrust your hips into the person at the same time as you drive your elbow back. Drive your elbow back. Don't drive it up this way, because then you're using your shoulders. You're not using your body. Keep your lats closed and drive it in. You can see the difference. Okay, drive it in. Drop your body weight into that as well. Okay, mass times acceleration. Remember that. If you remember that, mass times acceleration will give you effective force. Drive it in. Drive it in. Okay? Let me just move Bob over just a little bit. So what I do is I come in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again. 1, 2. As I push up, I push back. 3. As I pull back, I go up. 4. Then 5. 5. So that way you get from both angles. Okay? That's pretty much it. Chutos, or chops. We're going to start first frontal attack, then the side attack. Okay? And then finish with frontal again. When I say frontal, think of it this way. Divide your person in 4s. Come straight down the nose, down the throat, down the center of the chest, down the center of the belly button, and down between the legs. Then go to where the waistline is, cross the waistline. So now you have 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Some schools will say 8 by going 5, 6, 7, 8. Some schools call them the quadrants. I just refer to them as the quarters. So in the frontal attack, we're staying straight down the center line. The side attacks, we're attacking on either side of the quadrants or the quarters, okay? So your first chop is coming straight up to the esophagus, the throat, or even up underneath the chin. When we do the chop, we want to spin around. We want to turn it around, like you're scooping an ice cream in reverse, okay? And again, putting your mass, your body behind your strike. Because just doing this is not going to happen. You're not going to achieve anything. So drive your force. Pushing off the back leg to get that thrust in. So the first is the esophagus, and I'm going to jump in. Now, I'm not doing this. I'm doing this, and I'm coming straight in. Straight in. Why? Because that'll go through his blocks as well. Straight in. All right? And I'm pushing my body into it. The next is going to be the carotid artery, or the side just below the ear lobe, side of the neck. And what I want to do is I want to do a driving force. Okay? I want to do a driving force. And again, I'm not coming from over here. This is weak because I separate from my lats. I want to come in. I want to come down, then I want to drive through the person. I want to come down and drive through the person, right? I don't want to do this. I want to drive in through the person. Drive in through the person. So if I'm hitting the back of the head, back of the neck, just at the base of the skull, I want to drive in through the person. Drive in. I want my hands relaxed. I want to keep my thumb in place because I'm striking with the bladed part of my hand. Okay, I'm striking with this part of my hand. I want to come in. Okay? Same thing on this side. If I'm coming this way, I want to drive. You see how I'm moving, Bob? I don't want to just tap. I don't want to just hit him. I want to drive my hand through, come out on the other side of his ribs. Okay? So I want to drive it through. So that's 1, and that's 2. Then we have 3, which is the side of the ribs. And I want to swing my body into it. Okay? I want to swing my body into it. I don't want to come from here. It's easily blocked, and I lose energy. I want to conserve energy, but I want enough mass behind the accelerated technique to create the force that I want. So I come in, straight in. Again, relax the hands, just push in. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are dropping down to the collarbone. Not like this one here that's coming to the neck. This one is coming to the collarbone. You break that collarbone, they're not going to lift that arm. So it's, okay, not here. I want to drive, use my force to come down. I want to come down. I want to come down. I want to count them as doubles. There'll be 10, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 and 10 are knife hands. Nikites. Okay? Here, keep your fingers together. Don't try to go this way. Now, some schools say, oh, they're for the solar plex. If you develop your fingers, that's a possibility. But the average person is not going to go out there and develop their fingers, right? So why not use it for the throat, for the eye, for that little notch right down at the base of your throat where the breastbone or the collarbone comes out? Use that. Use it up the chin, okay? Right up underneath the chin, behind the chin bone, right up in there, in between the esophagus or on the esophagus or in the eye. If you can get the solar plex right where the opening is, that's fine, okay? provided that you're conditioned. But, who's going to do that? The person's wearing a coat in the winter. You're not going to be able to get that. But these areas are easier to get to. Okay? Some people say, you can use it for the groin. Well, I'm not going around striking that low and allowing myself an opening. Okay? Allowing an opening for Bob, for my opponent. Right? So it's simple, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 on each side makes 10. Those are your 10 strikes. Okay? Practice this stuff. This stuff is not, these techniques, whether you're doing the elbow or you're doing the chops, it's not going to come easy. You have to practice them. Condition your hands for striking. Okay? Don't forget, when you're in a situation like this, you have to do what you have to do to get out. Stop your opponent, escape, get out of there. We're not waiting for trophies. We're not fighting for trophies. We're fighting for survival. So the idea here is to stop the opponent as soon as we possibly can with whatever techniques we can. You should be able to punch from wherever your hands are. A lot of schools will bring it into chamber, or they bring it back. The further back you have your arm, the higher you have your chamber, the more shoulder you're going to use. Drop that elbow, relax the arm, and allow your waist to throw that punch out. In kickboxing, we have our hands out here, okay? We don't come back to chamber. We have our hands here, and we thrust right from where you're at. Well, get used to that, because that's a reality, okay? I'm not going to stand there and throw a punch from over here. That's good for tournaments, especially when you're fighting traditional tournaments, and they want to see that stuff. But in reality, you're not going to have time for that. You have to immediately come from wherever your hands are. If they're here, you should be able to throw that punch. Notice what I did. I pushed off this leg. Okay? I didn't reach out. I pushed off this leg to give me that. And I'm hitting them right in the spot. I don't have to look. I know where my hands are. Both hands are coming up, not just one. Both hands are coming up. Because you may have to turn and strike again. Okay? So learn to throw your hands, and that's what we refer to them in the streets, is throwing hands. Learn to throw your hands from wherever your hands are at. Once you start getting your hands engaged, don't drop them. Keep them up. Keep your elbows close. Keep your hands further away from you. I advise you to keep your hands open when you're not striking. Close them as you come in. As you come in, close them. Open them. Why? This is more defensive. This is more assertive, aggressive, passive, aggressive. So when you are in a confrontation, know for a fact that you're going to get hit. Where we agreed to exchange physical violence. Your objective is to stop that violence before it gets to you. Okay? Practice, practice, practice. If you don't have a bob and you got a bag, that's okay. If you don't have a bag, get a duffel bag, get a pillowcase, stuff it up with some laundry before you do your laundry, stuff that up, hang it up, hit that. The objective is to learn how to utilize your body with your strike. Okay? Mass times acceleration equals the effective force to strike this person. Okay? You don't want to use strength. You want to use mass times acceleration to give you that power. Utilize their force against them. Okay? So until next time, if you like what you see, please subscribe, hit the like button, hit that bell, and that way we notify you when the next video comes up. But please, subscribe and like. Domo arigato gozaimasu.